Hi, welcome to Basic Theory via the Internet. Alright, today we are talking about notation, continuing to talk about notation, and our topic of today is accidentals. Really simple concept, so I think this will be a short video, and then you're off to do your homework. The first thing we need to know, two vocabulary words. The first is semitone, or half step, and the second is whole tone, or whole step. Those are interchangeable terms. Semitone or half step are the same. Whole tone or whole step are the same. The first one, the semitone, this is when two notes are exactly adjacent to each other. You can see the C sharp to the D here. So you have C sharp going up to the D. I'll play that on the piano for you. That's the closest distance that we have in the Western tonal system. So that's a half step, or we'll call it a semitone. You may have practiced scales like this. The chromatic scale, and that scale employs all half steps. You can take a look in your handout on page 2 to see more about the half steps, more examples on the keyboard. On page 3, it talks about the whole step. Now here's an example of a whole step from C to D. Now this is the distance of two half steps, and often the white keys C to D, D to E, F to G, G to A to B. All of those are whole steps or whole tones. Again, the term is interchangeable. So C to D there, that's an example of a whole step. Now, also look at the black keys here. We could call this C sharp to D sharp. Also a whole step. There's exactly one key in between two notes that create a whole step. So here you have two white keys creating a whole step. The black key is the key in the middle. The two black keys creating a whole step, then the white key is in the middle. So this is the whole step, and this is the half step. Here we have it from a white key to a black key. Now, on your handout, you'll also notice that we have marked that whole tones can go from, say, an E to an F sharp. So there are places on the keyboard where the half step occurs between two white keys. And these two white key pairs are very important to remember. So we have B to C and E to F. Those are the two white key pairs. If you take a look at page 4 of your handout, we start introducing the accidentals. And on the handout, there's actually a demonstration of where all of the sharps are. So on page 4, we cover the sharp. This is the sharp sign. And the sharp sign just simply means on the piano, it's easy because you just think I'm moving one key exactly to the right. So it raises the pitch by one half step. So that would be from F to F sharp is what I played. You'll notice that there are places on the piano, again, those white key half steps that I mentioned, E to F and B to C. So a B sharp actually looks like a C natural, and an E sharp actually looks like an F natural on the keyboard. But the principle is that when you see a sharp, you raise the note by one half step. What if you need to raise a note by one whole step? Yes, sometimes you need to do that, and we have a sign for that. That's the double sharp. It looks a little bit like an X, and on your homework, if you just draw an X, I'll know what you mean. You'll see on your handout that the X is kind of fancy looking, but an X is good. So this X, when you see it, you're going to play a whole step higher, or you can think two semitones up, two semitones to the right on the piano. So that's your double sharp. So we have the sharp and the double sharp. Both of those raise the pitch of the note. So you'll see a C on the score, but the symbol will tell you play a half step higher or play a whole step higher. Now what if the composer wants to tell us play down a half step or a whole step? We have symbols for that too. Here is the symbol for flat. This flat sign means play one half step lower. So on the piano, that's one key to the left. So here's a D, and here's a D flat. So one half step lower. And then, of course, the double flat. This will be on page, the flat's explained on page 6 of your notes, and then on page 7, the double flat. This symbol makes a lot of sense. It's simply two flats, just very close to one another. So that's the double flat, and that means play down a whole step, or again, you can think play down two half steps. So here's a D again, a D flat, and here's a D double flat. You'll notice if you play along on the keyboard that the D flat actually looks like a C natural. And you may be wondering, why do we need all of these accidentals? Well, it's all about what key we're in. And we're going to talk about keys, I think in Unit 3. And it'll make more sense then why we might need accidentals like that in a piece of music. But if you're in a key, for example, that has 4 flats, and you want one of those flat notes that are already flatted to be lowered one half step to create the musical sound that you're going for, you're going to need to use a double flat sign. So it's a quick explanation, but they're necessary. Another necessary thing is to be able to cancel the accidental that you previously put on a note, and for that we have the natural sign. So the natural sign simply means return to the white key note. So if you see a C, and it was a C sharp, but now they want a C natural, you'll see this sign in front of the C, and you'll know to play the white key C. On the piano, of course, it's the white key, and then on your instrument, whatever you know, the original C, not the altered one. So it returns it on the piano to the white key notes. So there are no naturals that fall on the black keys of the piano. On page 8, I'm going to try to put this up to the screen. There is a handy chart here for you to memorize. Memorize this, accidentals, and it shows you from the lowest to the highest. So this is a whole step below the given note, a half step below the given note, half step above the given note, and a whole step above the given note. So we have 5 variations that you might see just on one note that's notated on the page. The final thing that we'll talk about this evening is on the bottom of page 8 we have some rules for accidental notation. I should say accidentals don't mean like it was accidental. It's not a mistake and it's not an accident that they're there. They're just alterations in the pitch. So you'll see that we have an example here. This would be the correct way to notate C sharp. C sharp is, the sharp is centered in the space. Here the sharp follows the note. This is not acceptable. Here the sharp precedes the note, but it's not even on the same space as the C sharp. This is also not acceptable. And here we've created a spot for you to create your own horrible way of notating C sharp. So you can imagine we might see variations like that, but the only way that is correct is when we place the sharp or the flat directly preceding the note. It's on the page. So we say C sharp, but we write sharp C when we notate it on the staff. And obviously, if you're reading along, you need to know that it's sharped before you even need to know what the pitch is. 2 more little rules. The first rule, I guess this is our second rule. Our second rule is that when an accidental appears and you want to cancel, you'll need a natural sign. But you'll notice that this one does not need a natural sign because it's in a different register. The accidental only applies to the register in which it is originally placed. And the final rule is that a bar line cancels the accidental. So here we have our D natural, and then it's flatted, and then here it is still a flat because after the flat it remains in effect for the rest of the bar. Here it's back to D natural because the bar line canceled the accidental that wasn't in the key signature. Alright, so I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this very condensed version of our theory class, and of course there's lots of classwork in the packet for you to practice identifying the flats and sharps and double sharps and double flats and naturals and half steps and whole steps. Those were the things that we needed to cover today in class, and there's lots of practice in the packet from the lesson. Homework will be due next week as usual. So thanks for watching. Send me an email, make sure that I know that you watched the video, and I'll see you next week.